Hello and welcome. Today I have with me the one and only Trackmania Grand League Spring 2022 champion, Patrick Mudda Radisich. Hello and congratulations.
Hello, thank you very much. Thanks for having me here.
Mhm. I know this is probably still fresh in your mind, but let me paint a picture for the viewers at home. It is the final round of the final map. You are driving ahead of Carl Jr., well, at least 1/10 ahead of him on every split. But before the last big jump, on the last split before that, he has overtaken you. You both perform the 880 successfully, but you have just a little bit more speed. In the end, you take the win with 6 thousandths of a second. You see that, and what is going through your mind at the moment?
Many things are going through my mind at that moment. I popped off really hard as soon as I crossed the line and saw the 6,000th difference. And it's funny actually because I live in Australia and the servers in Europe, there was a big delay when I crossed the finish line to see where I was. So I'm like there for like a second and then I see it pop off out of my chair, out of the room. Very happy at that moment.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this whole situation must have been like really. I mean, it must have created huge pressure. I mean, first you have been in the lead 2-0 after first two maps, but then it caught up to you, and not and of course the last round, the final dual finalist mode. It was just probably just very stressful situation. We could see some nervousness on the quicksand, the third map, and of course, especially on the hard, many wall touches, pole bonks. How would you call that? And I want to ask you, how did you manage that pressure, knowing that you have been in such a great lead, and in the end, it came down to only 6 thousandths of a second difference?
Wasn't too concerned about quicksand. I mean, winning Waterglider, like getting
Mm-hmm.
that last round was a huge win. Like that was a map I didn't expect to be able to beat him on because he always was good at the identity. And yeah, I remember on the last round of Waterglider, I was point 0.1 behind going into the identity. I was like, oh, I have to hope he makes a mistake or does the line wrong or something. And yeah, I managed to get more speed and snipe that. So yeah, I felt like I stole his better map from him and he stole my better map from me, being quicksand. So it was a fair trade. Um, Hearts, like I did after losing quicksand, I was like, okay, I'm still up two maps. It doesn't matter what happens on Hearts because it is my worst track of the day. I just had no good feeling on it. So I was like, okay, I just hope he wins this quickly or just somehow makes mistakes. But it's Carl, you can never rely on him to make mistakes. Um, yeah, and then it came down the tiny gap. We had an epic battle in the final four. I'm just like, all right, this is it, it's do or die now. I was back in the zone.
Mm-hmm. And I think your preparation to this match was just huge, like insane. You have picked four different maps on four different occasions. You have picked first Tiny Gap, then it was Waterglider, then you picked Quicksand, and in the end, your first map was Touchdown. And I mean, for the viewers, you had a chance to pick previous maps every time except Waterglider on top four, where Carl Jr. picked it before you. But I have a strange feeling that you would have picked a different map anyway. And I want to ask you, what made you do that? Was it like a conscious decision to create some sort of advantage for yourself, or maybe was it just a flex to show your opposition that there's nothing you can pick against me, and I have your number. I have your number.
Well, the reason I actually picked Quicksand is because, like you said, Carl had already picked Waterglider. That was going to be my pick no matter what. I chose Tiny Gap because that was my most consistent track in practice, and then of course, typical pick the map as the first map, can't drive for the first few rounds, the classic. But it didn't end up mattering that much anyway. But yeah, Quicksand was my second choice. And then I picked Touchdown because I performed surprisingly well compared to what I did in practice. And I thought, you know what? It was my worst map in practice. Let's just get it out of the way and see how it goes. And yeah, it ended up being good. Good choice.
Mm-hmm. I want to ask you about something funny that I have noticed. Every time map changes, there's like that short period of time, 10 seconds to warm up. Most players use that to, well, do a couple of the first turns and get into the zone. But you have refused to use that time every single time, at least in 1v1 that I am sure of. And I want to ask you, why is that? What were you doing at this moment?
I don't like driving the start and then suddenly having my run cut off. Like
Mm-hmm.
it disrupts the rhythm that I've built over the days and weeks of practice. And I feel confident enough with all the tracks to just bang, go right out of the gates. I don't really need the warm up. Can just go.
Mm-hmm. That's, I guess, understandable, right? And well, a lot of people were praising the top four. They were saying that the level is just insane, best finals we have gotten in a long time. But I don't think they were ready for what was coming next, and the 1v1 was just out of this world. And you had a tough task ahead of you. You had to beat, well, the arguable goat of the game, the favorite to win the tournament even before this 1v1. But let's be well honest with ourselves. He was the favorite coming into that 1v1 too. Um, and I want to ask you, well, how was it for you to compete specifically against Carl Jr. in that 1v1?
I mean, having the challenge to go up directly against the greatest of all time is a victory in itself. Like the result of that match didn't matter as much as the challenge itself. Like it really was like an honor to be one of the few people who got a chance to 1v1 him. And to be the first one to actually do it in TMGL successfully, like, it feels really good. But the real victory, like I said, was just getting to the 1v1. That was like my ultimate goal, to just have a shot. Um, yeah, that's all I can really say about it.
Yeah, and I think this accomplishment is, I think, very important to your story. Because, I mean, your story, to be truthful, is just amazing. You have quit in mid 2019 Trackmania video games due to an addiction, which is a very serious matter. And it was admirable that you have quit it so you can, well, work on your mental health. Oh, that's what I was going for. But in 2020, when Trackmania have released a new edition of the game, somewhere around this time, you have said that you're missing the game. You wanted to come back with a more serious approach, more professional, with one goal in mind. You wanted to be a TMGL champion, and guess what? You have just did that. And beating Carl Jr. doing that must have been just amazing. And I want to just say that, well, you have turned your addiction into something that you can be really proud of. And I want you to tell me, well, how was that journey for you, and how meaningful it is to you that you have done it in such a manner?
Well, when I retired, I
Mm-hmm.
did leave the game for quite some time, and just left behind speedrunning in general because I consider Trackmania to be a form of a speedrun game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, But yeah, that time away, working on my physical health, my mental health, really, like once I was able to clear my mind a bit, gave me a really deep appreciation for speedrunning and esports in general. And I actually came back before the new game. I even knew about the new game. It was for a full speed competition called FSL 2. And yeah, we ended up winning that in a very intense fight with Numalops. Um, yeah, but after the new game came out, saw, how nice it was to drive. The new surfaces with ice. And when I heard that TMGL was like mixed driving, I thought, I'll give this a go. See where I stack up against the rest of the OGL players. And it took me by surprise more than anyone else to see that I was instantly like, up in the top of the OGL already. And I was like, you know what? I have a real shot at getting into TMGL. Let's see what happens. And yeah, 2 years later, here I am.
Mm-hmm. And now that you have accomplished your goal, and as of this morning, well, maybe more of an afternoon for you, your contract with Edelweiss has ended. And I wanted to ask you, in the end, what is in store for you? What is in store for Mudda? What new goal have you set for yourself?
Well, to just continue improving like I always have, and yeah, the next big accomplishment would be to win the World Cup, but that's a very tough thing to do for anyone. But yeah, like just to continue improving, seeing consistency go up, still enjoying the game. Yeah, yeah, that's just have fun while I can and just do what I love.
Okay, then. Thank you very much for the interview. Do you have any short message for your fans and the viewers?
Yes, the fans of my PC, thank you very much for keeping the parts cool. You know, I don't want things to overheat while I'm playing the game. To all my supporters, to all the supporters out there, thank you for cheering me on every step of the way. To Phoebe, to my parents for waking up every Monday morning to watch me do what I do. And yeah, just thank you very much for supporting me doing what I love for a living.
Mm-hmm. And to all the viewers, all the links to Mudda's socials will be in the description. So go and follow your new champion. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, I invite you to leave a like and subscribe for more interviews in the future.